Well, as the weekend is coming to a close, that doesn't mean we end things as all. So, today we're just going to be reviewing two reviews. The first one is going to be Stardom with the finals of the Goddesses Tag League. We're going to find out who actually wins this year's, and of course we have DDT Pro Wrestling with Ultimate Party featuring a lot of good matches. We have, of course, the KOD tag team titles on the line, the DDT Iron Man Heavy Metalweight Championship, and various others. But of course, we have Jericho making his first DDT debut, taking on Konosuke Takeshita. And of course, the main event features the KOD Openweight Championship between the champion Chris Brooks and Yuki Ueno. So that's going to be one killer match. And of course, we got a couple of news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, any wrestlers that been either signed or departing their recent promotions, any injured wrestlers, and the whole enchilada. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everybody, welcome to the Deleted Wrestle Zone. All things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. Sorry, gotta clear my throat. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of reviews on various wrestling promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world where pro wrestling is not as big, but it also continues to grow. We also do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, storylines, factions, you name them. We also do more news updates in case if I'm unable to put it on this episode, I'll put it separately, and of course in real time news updates, what's been going on recently to be alerted on everybody. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us on the subscribe button and you'll be getting a lot of daily reviews on this channel. But if you also like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment down below. Now, let's begin with our very first review right now. Before I proceed, I want to tell everybody that I made a judgment call due to the fact that I did not see the entirety of the tournament due to the fact that I was caught up with other reviews that I've been doing. But however, I also made it a very interesting conclusion, as you may have heard. I have to say that this particular tournament must have been the worst of them all, not because of lack of wrestling, it's due to the lack of absence that took place. If you guys remember, we were supposed to see Utami, Ishida, and Azumi. They were already officially involved in the tournament. However, Utami got hurt and she was out of action. And then we saw the same thing with Tam Nakano, who was supposed to team up with Yuna Mizumori. Well, originally Natsuko was supposed to team with Tam, but apparently Natsuko ended up having a clavicle hernia, then Tam with the knee, and then we had many wrestlers that have been injuring themselves. This whole thing began right after the 5-Star Grand Prix, and I have to say, I may have to incline to agree with Starlight Kid. I think that the Stardom needs to change the system a little bit, so no wrestlers need to be injured. So, that being said, let's just review the finals of the Goddesses Tag League. So that's something we definitely got to get out of the way. Our first match is a 4-way match. We have Hanako versus Yuna Mizumori versus Ruka versus Sudi. Now, I'm going to presume that Sudi and Saki are eliminated out of the tournament due to the fact that they did not get enough points and all this and that. But it was a pretty good match. But it was, of course, Sudi with a interesting submission on Hanako to pick up the win. So yeah, so that's how it ended up. Next up, we have tag team action. We have Saya Ida and Azuki teaming up. Normally we see Koguma with Azuki, but due to concerns over her injury, Koguma had to withdraw from the tournament. So basically, FWC had no other choice but to forfeit. But this is more of a clean match. But their opponents, on the other hand, they already advanced into the finals, and that is Crazy Star, consistent of Suzuki and Mei Sita. Of course, they seem like a very, how do I say, watching these two, Suzuki and Sita team up, they've been very impressive as a duo since they formed. I mean, you look at Mei Sita, she's like a child, but you look at Suzu, who's very serious, but always looking like to have a little bit of fun. But they have been very cohesive for months, ever since they formed together. But I figured this match was definitely going to go in their favor when Suzu applied the German suplex on Saya Ida. Next up, we have Divine Kingdom. Now, they also advance as well. Megan Bayne and Maika, they take on O2 Line with Miyu Amasaki and Azumi. I kind of figured this was going to fall in favor of Divine Kingdom due to the fact that you've got, of course, the strongest person we see, Megan Bayne, and of course Maika, who has been very impressive. I did mention that Divine Kingdom are my number 2 pick to win. First up, because my number 1 pick just did not made it all the way through, which is a crying shame for me. But it was, of course, Megan Bayne with the F5 onto Amatsuki to pick up the win. Now, we got our first match involving the Goddesses of Stardom. This is from the Blue Goddesses. We have Lady C and Ami Sudi taking on Mai Sakurai and Mirai. Now, of course, if you guys have noticed, Mirai and Ami Sudi, they're both known as the New Ages. I mean, former tag champions. They have been involved in Tag League before together, but right now they're in the opposite. The only reason, if you guys remember clearly, why Mirai and Mai Sakurai, 2 people from 2 different units, teaming up. When Mirai first joined DDM, there was a bit of a bond between the 2 of them. But when Mirai made the choice to leave DDM, that kind of hurt Mai Sakurai in hopes that she becomes stronger. But they have formed a really good team, but they unfortunately neither actually couldn't advance even further. But it was, of course, Mirai with the lariat onto Lady C to pick up the win. But during the post-match comment, I did note here that Mai Sakurai seems has her eyes set on the white belt. Now, keep in mind, Mirai is defending that belt on the 18th against Sayori Onoi. So we'll see what happens until then. Now, our next 2 matches are the Red Goddesses block. First up, we have Oedo Tai, consistent of Momo Watanabe and Natsuko Tora, taking on Club Venus's Waka Tsukiyama and Mina Shirakawa. Now, like any typical Oedo Tai type of tactic, they attacked them right away before they ever been announced, but they just wanted to get it over with. But I'm sure that Momo Watanabe hasn't forgotten the humiliation she suffered by Mina Shirakawa on various occasions. Now, if you guys remember, when Mina was pursuing the white belt, she knew that Momo was one of those people that she has to pin. So I'm sure that was the clear-cut case. However, there was a bit of a misfired by Natsuko Tora when she spit the red mist right into the face of Momo. Intentionally was made for Mina, but luckily Mina was able to dodge it, then pick up a pinfall towards Momo with the Mina collection, and it was over right from there. So, even though none of these 2 teams actually win, it just ended it that way. Well, none of these 2 wins, I mean, teams actually advanced, but nonetheless, it was a good match. Now, as our last match of the Goddesses, we have a very bit of an interesting feud. Prominence versus Mafia Bella. Now, if you guys remember history between these two teams, as you know, Mafia DDM has been on a roll since the beginning of 2022, but with the arrival of Prominence, they declared war against Julia. So this is a never-ending war, regardless if Julia thinks this is over between them. But it will never be over, no matter what Julia thinks. So basically, as you know, they Prominence before the start of the tournament, they announced that they were going to be involved. Not to mention, Risa Sarah did challenge for the strong women's title. However, that did not get. But however, this match was incredibly good. I mean, they were keeping dodging, kicking out of countouts, all of that. I don't know. I have to say it was pretty good. It had ended with a time limit draw up to 15 minutes. I'm sure this is dissatisfying from both teams, but I'm sure they will love to have nothing more than have another opportunity against each other. Don't know when that'll happen, but it can happen. Now we move on to the finals of the Goddesses Tag League. We have Divine Kingdom taking on Crazy Star. Now, I know there's been a lot of animosity. If you guys ever follow the story, Micah has always blamed Zuzu for ever coming to Stardom, changing things. Now, don't forget, Micah hasn't forgotten that she lost to Zuzu in the finals of the 5-star Grand Prix and was unsuccessful to get the artist belts away from DDM. And there was a bit of misfire from both. But I'm sure this is what Micah wanted to do, like beat the living crap out of Zuzu. But in this case, it didn't go that way. It was Micah, in the other hand, that put away May Sita with the Michinoku Driver 2, and they become this year's Goddesses Tag League winners. So that means they will be challenging for the Goddesses Tag titles. But the problem we do face is, if you guys remember, I mentioned this. Natsupoi, who is one half of the tag champions, was unable to participate due to a cervical hernia that she suffered before the start of the tournament. But she did state it on Twitter, on X, that she would be coming back soon. But of course, there's been a dissatisfaction between Micah, who's demanding Stardom to have them hand over the belts. I'm sure Stardom are trying to have this match as soon as possible, but in a way they don't want to make things worse for the injury that Natsupoi has already dealt with. So we'll see how that rolls up. So I think that's pretty much it with Stardom. I believe it's time for DDT Pro Wrestling Ultimate Party. Okay, DDT Pro Wrestling Ultimate Party. This is one of the bigger shows they do in DDT. It starts out with the KOD tag team titles. The challengers, Masahiro Takanashi and Antonio Honda, they take on Romance Dawn, consistent of Shota and Soma Takoa. So this is a very interesting tag team match. However, I knew that there was going to be a bit of a comedy act, all thanks to Antonio Honda, saying all this and then all of that. But however, I have to say, I'm a fan of Romance Dawn because they started out as a good team and they always determined to win the tag teams, not only in DDT but also in Gambare Pro, since that's normally where they show up. But it was Soma Takoa with the gin and tonic onto Antonio Honda to pick up the reign and retain their belts. Now our next match, this is a bit of a gauntlet match, but I don't know what you call it. First up, we have Toy Kojima and Yuki Ishida. They take on Yumi and Rukiya versus Yuya Kurikoi and Yusuke Okada. And then we have Kazumi Sumi Naruto Doi, and then there's Damnation's Cannon and MJ Paul. Now, I completely lost how of course, the entirety who was eliminated in this thing, but I kind of figured this was going to go to the Damnation into another team in the end of this match, but it was of course Damnation versus Burning, because there was a special match that features the leaders of those two units, of course. But in the end, it was a fantastic roll up by Kuruku, who picked up the win onto MJ Paul, the walk away with the win. Now, our next match, we have the stars of Tokyo Pro Wrestling taking the stage. We have Wakana Urihara. She teams up with the tag team Daisy Monkeys, Arisu Endo, and Zuzumi. They take on Shino Suzuki, Moka Miyamoto, and Yuki Arai. I have to say, this is a very interesting matchup because, as you all know, Yuki Arai was tag partners to Saki Akai, who was set to retire. That was a pretty good match. But I figured this match was going to end with Yuki Arai picking up the win because she wants to be strong like Saki Akai, who she looked up to. And it was very interesting that she picked up the win with finally onto what's her name, onto Uehara, just like that. Next up, we have a very unique kind of match, an apology match. Now, I know what you're gonna say. What the hell is an apology? Well, you have to apologize to your opponent out in the public. So we have team number 1. We have Shanjiro Tagagi, Shinichiro Kawamatsu, Akito, and Makoto Oshiro. They take on Yoshitatsu, Super Sasandego Machine, Yoshiki, and Danshuko Dino. So basically what they had to do is when things seem like they're all hope in the match, they have to apologize. It's the most humiliating thing that any wrestler wants to do because, I know that in the past, Shinjiro Takagi has been dealing with Dino, who's nothing but a pain in his ass. But I have to say, it backfired on him because, it was Takagi who apologized, and of course, crying like a little girl that he actually had to apologize. So, just like that. But yes. Now, our next match. This is a very interesting match. We have Takeshi Masada taking on Kuroshio Tokyo, Japan, formerly known as Ikemanjiro. That's right, the guy from the jacket. He's involved in this match. Now, this particular match was set because, of course, Ikemanjiro is close friends with Takeshita. He did tell him that, of course, Masada needs to get a haircut, try to say this, but it was a pretty good match. But Masada, he was telling him he needs to take off the jacket. He's like, nope, I never take off the jacket. But I have to say, it was a pretty good match. But, of course, when Masada thought he had this match won, somehow, let's call him Ikeman, because that's how we know him anyway. Ikeman decided to pull off a sneaky move with the crucifix pin, and it was over from there. Of course, he did not expect that, but he is Ikeman after all. Now, our next match is a very interesting one. We have the Voodoo Murders, all the way from All Japan, consistent of Toshio, Jun, and Rei Sato, the Saito brothers. They take on Yukio Naya, Harashima, and Jun Akiyama. Now, I know for a fact that Yukio Naya had dealings with the Voodoo Murders before, but however, you cannot deny the fact that we did have Jun Akiyama, who was originally from All Japan, is standing across these guys. But I have to say, it was a pretty good match. But it was Yuki Naya who, in fact, made the final blow with the world's best backdrop onto Toshio, and it was over right from there. So I'm sure Voodoo Murders are not happy with the result, but that's how it ends. Now, I did mention before, we did have members of the factions from Burning and, of course, Damnation TA. However, the leaders of the respected factions were involved in this next match, Tetsuya Endo and Daisuke Sasaki. Now, these two guys go a long way back. If you guys remember all too well, Tetsuya Endo used to be a member of the Damnation. He was a leader for quite a short time due to the incompetence of Sasaki. I'm sure Sasaki has not forgotten, but this was a much brutal match. You can tell how much these guys hate each other, and I thought it was pretty impressive. But Sasaki was kept repeating the same old thing. What he wanted to do, he wanted to finish off Endo with the crossface on multiple occasions, but failed to do so. But when he finally did, Endo refuses to give up. Referee had no other choice but to stop the match, and the match goes straight up to Sasaki, which is a huge disappointing loss for Endo. Now, our next match is part of the retirement of Saki Akai. This was announced a couple of months ago. Saki Akai, as you know, she's a Joshi wrestler, the only one who's involved in DDT. She's been wrestling men's for that long, and she's not afraid to do so. You know, she was scouted by Shinjiro Takagi, the president of DDT, and of course she's been with the promotion for almost 10 years. And I think it was pretty amazing from that. But she announced that she was planning to retire, that her time was up. So she teams up with her faction, the faction she's been with, Eruption, with Hideki Okatani and Yukio Sakaguchi. They take on Naomichi Marufuji, former member of the Eruption, Kazusada Iguchi, and then, of course, the Pink Striker, Miyu Yamashita. I have to say it was a pretty awesome match. I mean, as I said before, Saki Akai was one of those female wrestlers who was not afraid to be standing on the opposite side from the men. And she did a pretty good job. But, of course, this match had a perfect ending with her, Saki and Miyu together. Now, the other guys are like saying, let them have their moments. So they just walked out, stayed on the ringside and watched it. But of course, it was the skull kick by Yamashita that sealed the deal, and it was over from there. And of course, Miyu Yamashita, Naomichi Marufuji, and Iguchi pick up the win. However, that was an end of it. Of course, the ceremony of Saki Akai's retirement was commencing. She had surprise video messages from, hold on, I wrote that down somewhere. Here it is. From Hiroshi Tanahashi, Togi Makabe, and of course, Junichiro Tenryu. So I don't know what they said, but it was great. And of course, Saki got the bouquet of flowers, starting with the guys from Eruption, Okatani and Sakaguchi. I'm sure she was very emotional, and of course she had bouquet of flowers from Rina Yamashita, and I forgot who else, the other person. And then later the president of the company, Shinjiro Takagi. But this one was a very interesting one that took place. Shinjiro Takagi has always been very open about his wrestlers, and of course he said that he never asked her to do anything, but he has one final wish that he wants her to do. He's well aware now that she will be, of course, retiring as a pro wrestler, but he's offering her a job in a position as a staff member in the company. And of course, emotionally she accepted it because she felt, DDT's always been home. Originally, she's not from Tokyo. She's originally from Osaka. And she didn't know anybody, but during the time she's been in Tokyo, and especially with the guys in DDT, they've been her family since then. And of course, they did not show this on the Wrestle Universe due to, I don't know what's the reason, but there was a video message from someone you guys know. He's a current star in WWE. We're talking about Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, I don't know what's the significance of that, but that's what I've been hearing. I'm sure DDT tried to negotiate to have him to see what was going on, but I'm sure they said no. I think that was the reason. But it is what it is, and now we can finally say Saki Akai is officially retired. Now, our next match, we have the DDT Iron Man Heavy Metalweight Championship. Now, those don't know this belt. This one is a 24/7 belt, way more cooler than WWE's. I want to be honest with that, okay? The version that the 24/7 belt they had sucked monkey balls, to be honest with you. But this one, the DDT Iron Man Heavy Metalweight Championship, is way more cooler than that. Now, they started out with, we had, of course, the competitors, the challenger, Kazuki Irada versus the champion Hiromu Takahashi. However, there was like a bit of a roulette thing going on and this and that. I mean, they were doing like some crazy, wacky things, but I can assure you that this match ended with Hiromu applying the fisherman suplex onto Irada to retain the title. However, if you guys have been aware, I said this is a 24/7 belt, the DDT Iron Man Heavy Metalweight. Anybody could win it, or an object. You're probably asking yourselves, what the hell am I talking about? Well, let me explain. I did not know about this until later on, when I was a fan of this belt. One time, Britt Baker was reading the Young Bucks book, and Aubrey Edwards, who was present, saw that the book was lying right on top of her, and she made the count, and of course, the Young Bucks book won the Iron Man Heavy Metalweight Championship. And I was like, really? Even objects win? Yes, they do. So basically, what happened is Hiromu was lying down with his IWGP Junior Heavyweight title on top of him, and then referee saw that. 1, 2, 3, the belt has a belt of its own. And then, of course, Irada, who is very sneaky, was able to pin the belt and become the next champion. It was so funny and bizarre. I just enjoyed everything about it. So, I thought it was great. Now, moving on. The DDT Universal Championship. Mao challenged the so-called Deathmatch King, who is not really a Deathmatch King, Matt Cardona. He actually put the belt on the line, but I kind of figured that he was going to try to make sure. Now, this match ended in a no disqualification match. Of course, Steph DeLander was there. She was going to help, but luckily, Mao got his unit to be there for him. Of course, I saw Shuna Katsumata was there too, helping out. But there was a moment when the referee was knocked out. There was no ref, and guess who came for the rescue? Mao's frenemy, Yoshihiko. So Yoshihiko was helping out with the pin. But however, Steph DeLander tossed Yoshihiko out of the ring. But luckily, it was, of course, Mao who applied the radio silence onto him on a box of plastic onto him to pick up the win. And Mao becomes the new DDT Universal Champion. Now, our next match is a special match. We have Chris Jericho versus Konosuke Takeshita. Now, as you know, the never-ending war between Jericho and Kenny taking on the Don Callis family still reaches its farthest distance all the way to Japan. And of course, I was enjoying how the Japanese fan base were singing to Judas, and it was a lot of fun. I'm sure everybody were enjoying. I mean, of course, a lot of people talk to Takeshita that they love AEW, and I'm sure that they are saying that. So, singing the Judas song was amazing. But it was a pretty good match, not to mention. But it was Jericho who walked out as the victor when he applied the Walls of Jericho, and it was done. But in the end, of course, at the post-match, Jericho extended his hand to Takeshita, the sign of respect. But the obvious thing does tell how Don Callis treats it, because I'm sure he's not going to like it. But we'll see what happens on Wednesday. Now, our main event is the top belt of the promotion, the KOD Openweight Championship. We have Yuki Inoue versus Chris Brooks. Now, I've been aware for a while now that Yuki Inoue has been challenging for this belt, but it was no success. So he wants to proceed this belt to be the face of DDT, just like his former friend Takeshita. That is something that he wanted to do. But I have to say it was a fantastic match. I mean, Yuki Inoue, he was determined to reach to the top. That's always been what he wanted from the very beginning. But he was able to pick up the win with the WR, and it was over, and he becomes our new champion. I'm so happy for him. I mean, I'm sure that he is going to take DDT to new heights and new levels. That's something I'm sure many fans can hope for and dream about with him. And we'll see what the future holds for him as our KOD Openweight champion. So I think that's pretty much it for all of our reviews at this moment. So let's move on with some news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news update. So this is what we have so far. Now, Major League Wrestling has announced a breaking news for everybody for their upcoming event called One Shot. That'll take place in December. It was announced that our very first winner of the MLW World Heavyweight Championship, Satoshi Kojima, makes his return. Now, I don't know exactly who, if he's going to be, I'm sure he's going to be wrestling, but don't know who his opponent is going to be. But I'm sure everybody will be glad to see him be back, and that is something that we're hoping for. Now, two updates are coming. They came out from the British promotion Progress Wrestling. The first one, it was announced that Masato Tanaka will be making his debut in 2024 with the promotion, and also announced that Brian Keith also will be making his appearance there, also in 2024 at an event, the Strong, what was it? Super Strong Style 16th. That's the event, but they never mentioned for Tanaka which one he's gonna do. Glory Pro Wrestling has announced for the Must Be Money event that happens later on this month on the 16th. We're gonna have the first time teaming together. Everybody's favorite dad, Dan the Dad, teams up with the pizza maker Luigi Primo. I think that's going to be a very unique team. I've always talked about how unique wrestlers can be, and I think this is one I'm definitely going to enjoy. Now, a very surprising announcement that came on social media by GCW. They announced that, of course, Andrade El Idolo will be making his appearances in GCW. Now, this was a bit of a surprise to me, and I even talked to many of my friends what to make of it. They all said the same thing to me. Andrade will be making his appearances in 3 shows for GCW. The first one in LA is going to take place on the 9th of December. Then, of course, the 12th, the 9th of December, that's going to be in LA. Then there's the 12th of January of 2024 in Chicago. And then finally the 26th in Tampa Bay in January. So that's going to be very interesting to enjoy. Now, as you guys remember clearly, I did talk about the Mexican promotion, KOAZ Lucha Libre. They just recently announced who's going to be in the roster for 2024. 2 names have been announced. Cid Benedico, the main man, and of course, Julissa, or as we know her, Yulissa Leon down in NXT. They were the first 2 people to be announced. Now a third has been announced, and that is none other than high-flying sensation Commander. So yes, now Commander has been with this promotion before. He was not, he's not part of the AAA roster, but I think he was on loan or something. I'm not sure, but yes, it's going to be interesting. I'm sure that AEW and KOAZ will probably work together at some point, because I feel AEW can work with anybody. Now, CMLL has announced that Ray Horace is going to be part of their promotion. A very interesting move. I mean, the last time he was with the Crash, but now it seems like he's moved up. Now, finally, I did mention this before from the recent Choco Pro event. Gatoh Move will do their next show, Rivals, on the 20th of November. They announced another match that will be taking place. We have Sayaka taking on Makoto. So that's going to be interesting to see as well. I would like to see what Sayaka would do because I know Makoto has more experience than Sayaka. I mean, Sayaka has shown a bit of the aggressiveness in the ring and outside the ring. So I can't wait to see what she's going to do. But I think that's pretty much it for now. Let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. As I said before, I made a judgment call for the Stardom show, the finals of the Goddesses Tag League. I did stated that I think this was the worst tag league due to the fact there has been a lot of absence due to injuries. I just hope for everybody's sake that we do see, of course, the system change a bit. I don't know what the future is going to be now because, of course, certain wrestlers are dissatisfied that, of course, certain champions are not involved. I mean, Tam's not involved in anything. She was supposed to be in Tag League. Natsupoi, well, she was originally supposed to be in it, but due to the injuries. So it's no one's fault in this, but I'm sure Stardom and Bushiroad will think of something. But for now, for our next episode, I haven't decided yet what I'm going to be reviewing, but I'll let everybody know because there's still some wrestling I haven't seen. Even some of it dates back in October. But we'll see what happens until then. But for now, we'll just leave things as it is. And I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.
Are you ready?